evening, good afternoon to everybody. I love it. I love it. I love it. I'm getting a surprise every every week with watching the introduction. So thank you, Dan. Sending so much love. Mary, I shouldn't call you Mary. Dr. Martin.
Why? Stop it. Hi,
How are we doing today?
Dr. Martin. I'm great. How are you? Thank you so
You know,
much. Thank you so much for having me. This is gonna be fun. I'm excited.
I'm so excited. And here's the thing. I get caught in all of my connections and friends that have
I'm
doctor.
great. How are you?
And I'm so used to talking to people by their first name, and at the same time, we have to show respect. "Hey, Dr. Parker." We have to show respect, and everybody should be calling you Dr. Martin.
Yeah. Next.
Okay. So, first question is, how is your heart? How's everything going with you? As much as you wanna share. Today,
Um,
the
today it's right now it is warm. It is curious. It's got some excitement and love for you.
Okay. I will take that love and send it right back to you. So much love. We've spent so much time together, and I want everybody to know who you are and the beautiful being that you radiate out to help support others. Because that's how I met you through the work that you were doing online. I said, "Oh, I need to meet this beautiful lighthouse and learn more." And I don't know how many people saw it. It was because of Dr. Martin that I then had the opportunity to do a day of silence that was very different than when I was in the schools supporting the day of silence for LGBTQ plus community. And this was more of a day of silence for being. And it was one of the most difficult days I had to sit with and sit through. So, can you tell everybody a little bit about yourself and as far back from your journey you want to go? But I think it's important that they know that you center in mindfulness and you went to Brown and there's so many other beautiful things about you, but I want you to share what you would like to share.
Okay, I'm gonna go like condensed.
Okay.
Condensed of what brought me to mindfulness is I was a meditator since I was little. I am the child of a Buddhist and a seminarian, and I ended up doing TM sort of in young adulthood. So fast forward like a lot. I get a doctorate. I work. I'm ghostwriting books. I'm editing. I'm teaching, and I get married, so I'm fast forwarding fairly quickly, and to like 22 years ago almost, and there I am in Princeton at my cousin's house, and I start hemorrhaging, and like really bad and painful. It's horrible. I don't know what the heck is going on. I call my OBGYN. I make an appointment for like when I get home to Palm Beach, and so I don't think like there's anything wrong. And I'm in pain, and I go home 5 days later, go to the doctor, and so he calls me and he says, so here's the deal. You can get pregnant. And I was like, yeah. And he said, because the good news is you're pregnant, and the bad news is you're miscarrying, and you're like 5 months pregnant. And I was like, what? So fast forward to a party a couple of months later at and there's two therapists there. It's actually at a therapist's house, and one therapist says to the other, wow, I can't believe that happened to Mary. And the other one says, of course that happened to Mary, she doesn't live in her body. And
Mm,
so I'm like on this like spiral staircase, and I go marching right over to them because like never put a confrontation in front of me and think I'm not going to say something. So I go walking over there, and I'm like, wait a minute, what? Tell me more about what you just said. And she
right.
said, look, it's my party, and this is not the time for this. She goes over to a bookcase and she hands me John Kabat-Zinn's book, Wherever You Go, There You Are, and she says, just go and read this and talk to me when you're done. So I read it, and then I start to learn mindfulness. So I switch my meditation practice over to mindfulness-based stress reduction. I get certified by Mindful Schools to teach children, and trauma certified, and certified in mindfulness-based stress reduction by Brown University. And that, like, the moral of the story is you have a body.
Mhm.
And I was walking around really like a brain in a meat suit for years. And the things that I valued were achievement, anything intellectual, like anything intellectual. And in terms of my body, I was always very fit, and I
Mhm.
was a gym rat. So if you like fitness wise, by like physique wise, it looked like Mary was fine with her body, but I had zero relationship to my actual like interoception, to my
Mhm.
heart, to what was going on inside me, to my feelings, to my emotions. So that's how one becomes pregnant and does not know it, and then one has a miscarriage and does not know it. And at no point in this whole thing was I like, maybe I'm pregnant. Like, just didn't even think about it. So, and I wasn't like, it didn't change the way I looked that much. So it
Yeah.
wasn't something that was really obvious to people. So yeah, that's what brought me to mindfulness. It was the fact that we are living in bodies that we're walking around in, and they affect everything we do because they're
That's right.
constantly getting these messages from the outside world about what's going on and what might be a threat and what isn't a threat, or how, feelings and sensations and sights and sounds. And I was just like ignoring all of it, or filtering it and editing it in a way that was really not helpful to me. So I got to really sit with myself and learn about how I operate as a human with a nervous system and a vagus nerve and a brain and the whole thing. And it was not pretty, and it was really painful. And of course, it's not like it ended. It's still going. And as you know, a future being in silence really, um, if it's done, if it's kind of guided and you know what you're there for, and you already have some tools, as you don't throw somebody into silence without knowing what the heck it is they're doing. So a day of silence is part of mindfulness based stress reduction, and it's between weeks 6 and 7 of an 8-week course. So it's part of what you do once you have developed some capacity to sit with yourself. You sit with yourself a lot for a whole day. And it seemed, and it just creates a shift. Like it created a shift in you.
Mhm. Mhm. Okay, so many, so many. Whoo! Okay,
Where do you want to start?
I need to give myself a pause
Okay.
because anytime I bring somebody on the show, everybody I'm bringing on, I know. And I know I don't know all the beautiful pieces of them. So this is a knowing of you of a story I didn't know. And it's nice to get to hear, but I also think as humans, we don't pause enough. We just feel like we have to fill the space with words and something instead of just being. So, one, thank you for telling us that story because obviously you didn't have to share that private information about yourself. And two, telling us what brought you to the work. The other thing it made me think of is there are so many people that I've been in community with or not community with and just had the pleasure of meeting that aren't using their body the way we would hope. I'm not even going to say the way people should. And I keep saying this quote that I said probably 2, 3 years ago about we are Houdinis of sitting with our own emotions. We will do anything to escape them
Mm, yeah.
because it's painful.
Yep.
So it's much easier to numb and
Mhm.
not sit in a day of silence and your own torture to have to right? Like, "Hey, I'm gonna sign up for tor" who's signing up for torture? It's mental it's at times, it's mental torture until you've come to the place of peace and flow. So, in the times, because 'cause you've done many sitting with yourselves and longer, because I remember we talked about this and you're like, "Oh, I do weekends and week" I'm like, "What?"
Weeks, 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 more weeks, several weeks.
like, I can't do that. I'm not at
Yeah.
that point. Not there yet. So, in your journey to self, back to self, because I think we lose and we come back always. Well, hopefully. The journey is hopefully everybody will come back to self. And when you go back and even now, what did you learn? And how did that change your own wellness? Because you said you were physically fit. And how well were you then? I think one of the things that you mentioned was in my internal being. So, how did that change? And how much has mindfulness helped you with that? Not even change. I just talked to somebody today and he was talking about the word change, evolution.
Hmm. Well, I inhabit my body, which you're like, duh. Of course you do, but you don't necessarily. It's a
Right.
choice. It's a practice,
Mhm.
and it's just so fascinating. Every little thing, like right now, wherever you are, feeling the bottoms of your feet against whatever they're touching,
Mhm.
and gravity or pressure or contact points. Oh, I'm not standing evenly, or I'm weighted very strangely, or just noticing at any moment, what are your hands doing? What are your hands doing? And what sensations are present in in and on your hands, from air on the skin to moisture maybe on the palms, to the webbing between your fingers, the
Mhm.
temperature of your hands. Are they touching each other? Are they touching clothing? Like, there's so much to notice at
Right.
any moment that your body is doing. Movements, just simple movements, walking. We did a lot of walking that day, very slowly. And when you move very slowly, it's a whole different ball
Mm.
game, because you get a sense from the inside out of everything that has to happen, to walk. So we
Yeah.
do mindful walking. We walk back and forth across a yoga mat. So it's like, 7 steps, you turn around, and 7 steps, and you turn around, and you do that for 25 minutes. You really get to know what is involved in walking. But sometimes for the first time, you don't realize how you walk. You just do it. And it's everything. Eating. What is your do you taste your food even? What does it feel like in the mouth? What does it smell like? What does it look like? Does it look heavy? What color is it? So there's this whole world of sensory experience that you carry around with you, that I, for one, was paying zero attention to. I mean, like, once in a while I would pay it. Like, if I got a sunburn, I was like, oops, so it took pain. It took extreme pain for me to pay attention to anything in my body. And that pain was like, hello.
Mhm.
So, and if it's different for everybody. So my life actually has completely transformed because I live it very differently. I understand, for me, what is necessary for my own well-being. And I was doing a lot of those practices before, but I was doing them and not paying attention to them. You can go to the gym for an hour and a half and not pay attention. You can go through all the motions. You really can, and not really be paying attention to what you're doing. You can run, like, I'm a runner, and it's like I will run and have no idea that I'm running. So it changes your perspective completely. You notice where your body is, how your body is. You notice when you're coming down with something a little earlier sometimes, or something is off. If you slept in a strange position, you're alerted to that sooner. So there's so much. There really is so much. Just bathing your life in awareness completely changes how you do things. And there's really interesting research. At my One of my favorite articles is called "A Wandering Mind is an Unhappy Mind," and it's from like 2014. It's not a current article, but it's still true that when you're present, even if you're doing something you don't really want to do, you're
Mhm.
happier than when you're not present. And so being present really can transform your relationship to your relationships, to your work, to your sleep, to the way you walk, to the way you eat. There's a reason mindful eating is a thing, because once you start paying attention to how you're eating, your relationship with food, as well as your relationship with eating and your relationship with your own digestion, it all changes because you're paying attention in a way that you weren't before. So it's like a window into how you operate and how you could be operating that could be boosting your well-being and how you're in your own way.
Mm. Mhm. I just had this conversation this week. Get out of your we oftentimes are the ones standing in our own way, and we have to get out of our own way. And I also sit in curiosity of how many people even understand what being present is.
Yes, it's a feel. There's a felt sense. There's a feeling that
Yeah.
comes along with it, and it's something that you learn, and you
Right.
can learn, and everybody can learn it, and everybody can get better at it, and everybody can do it more frequently. So we have these default patterns of our habitual ways of doing things, and we habitually don't pay attention. So, in
Mhm.
order to be more present, there's only one thing that gets you there, and it's being more present,
Mm.
because you need to create the neural pathways that predict, like, oh, I am present. That's like a thing I do.
Right.
So, and absent a practice, your brain is like ChatGPT in that it's a predictive engine. It predicts the thing you're going to do next based on all of its data from what you've done before. So it's not gonna it doesn't suddenly do something different. You have to like reprogram yourself to pay attention. And it's not easy, you know that. And everybody's looking for like the thing. Like, what's the thing that's gonna make this easier? Like nothing, you know? You have to do it at a time that you will reliably do it, for a time period that you will reliably do it. Prompt yourself if you need to, but it's not easy to develop this habit of awareness, but it is
Mhm.
so worthwhile. And John Kabat-Zinn says, if you can name it, you can be mindful of it. So you could, mindful painting, mindful writing, mindful walking. You walk over to the refrigerator and you reach out and you grab the refrigerator door. You can do that mindfully. You can
Mhm.
ask yourself, like, what am I doing here at the refrigerator? When you open it and you're just like looking, just looking, like, what are you doing? And the more mindful you are, the more you ask yourself, like, what is it that I'm feeling right now that makes me stand here and do this?
Mhm.
What
Mhm.
was the prompt? What said, oh, Mary goes to the refrigerator now and opens the door? We have a question. We're thinking out loud, disqualify the session and need a um, I need to know a little bit more about that question, thinking out loud. Oh, okay. There's more. Spirit leave the spirit left behind. So strange. Okay. So you can always talk. There's no like law against talking. But here's the thing. What is it that makes you want to talk? Would be the question. And what is it that happens when you're silent? Because
Mhm.
frequently what happens is you're silent and you start to get anxious. You start to feel I like I'm crawling out of your skin, or I can't do this. So there starts to be like a lack of confidence or even a terror. So
Mhm.
some people with unresolved trauma have have a tough, really difficult time with silence and
Mhm.
work up to it like teeny itty bitty bits. And the same thing with closing the eyes. So back in the day, it was like close your eyes, focus on the breath. And then, the trauma researchers were like, hello, no. Some
Mhm.
people some people don't feel comfortable closing their eyes, and you don't say close your eyes. You instead invite, if it feels comfortable for you to close your eyes. And you can test it a little bit. You close your eyes, and does your nervous system start to feel agitated? Do you start to feel upset? And so open the eyes. So in
Mhm.
any practice, you're closing your eyes, you're getting upset, there's always the option to open them.
Yeah.
And the same thing with the breath. So there we are during COVID. So many people had a very tense relationship with the breath. And let's talk about I can't breathe. Let's talk about
Yeah.
George Floyd, okay? You're not going to tell a bunch of people that they have to breathe. So we're in this moment in time, and we happen to be in this moment in time a lot, where the breath can be a very scary place for some people.
Mhm.
And it's like, it's bad enough that I have to breathe. Don't make me also focus on it. So instead, we say focus on a neutral point in your experience, a physical point. So not like
Yeah.
an image in your head, or a word, because if it's something in your head, you have to keep conjuring it to keep it working. So it's something in your experience, the feeling of your hands on your lap, the feeling of your feet on the floor, maybe the feeling of your breath. But you focus on something that is in your experience in the moment. And then when your mind wanders, which it will like a billion times, you just come back to your anchor point. So no need to be lying down, no need for like a lotus position, no need to focus on the breath, no need to close the eyes. What you want to do is what you will reliably do and what makes you feel comfortable. Because if
Yeah.
you're starting out with something that's terrifying, like that's good luck. You can work up to something that's terrifying, absolutely. But if you're just begin in a comfortable position, in a room that you feel safe, in a position that you feel safe, focusing on something in your experience that makes you feel safe.
Mhm.
And the mind wanders, and you just bring it back to whatever your anchor point is. This practice is called focused awareness. And when your mind wanders, you don't go, I can't do this. I'm crazy. My mind, I can't clear my mind, because you're not clearing your mind, because
Mhm.
it's never going to happen. You're never going to clear your mind. You're never going to stop all of your thoughts, and you're never going to clear your mind, because you're
Mhm.
human. But what you can do is keep returning your focus back to your anchor point. And that's how
Mhm.
you train your attention. I hope some of that helps.
If that helps with the question that was asked, we loved feedback. So if you want to drop that in the chat, if that helped. I think the other important point is you do labors of love pretty often, is what I will say throughout the year, of saying, I am here to support and serve. And even if you want to come with me, of doing the mindful journey, and you do it for free.
I do.
So, which is huge, right? It's huge because I know you are very much centered in equity, and you understand that not everybody has access to the same resources or finances that other people have, and you do drop-ins, and you have something coming up, I think, pretty
Yeah,
soon. Am I correct in that? Thank you,
yeah.
Dan, for putting it up. So this is your website, and if people go on your website, they're gonna see this drop-in return. So can you just tell us and everybody listening what is coming up that is 100% free if people really would like to
Sure.
practice mindfulness?
Sure. It's on Thursdays. So tomorrow's the first one. It's at from 11 to 11:30 a.m. Eastern time, and it's a half hour where you literally drop in to the Zoom room, and then you drop into your own experience. So it is completely guided, and I'll give you a couple of awareness practices. There are so many, but I'll show you through the basic ones, and then after you practice, we kind of ask we kind of capture what your experience was, and then you can ask questions, because people sometimes are like, am I doing it right, or this happened, is that okay, or they just have a question and they want to reflect on their experience. So learning to practice mindfulness is one thing. It's really important to learn what questions you need to ask yourself after you practice, because it's not just like I practice and I run and that's it and I don't do anything else. You practice and then hopefully you're going to learn from that,
Mhm.
so that ultimately what you're doing is you're learning about your own experience and how to handle your own experience, not
Mhm.
necessarily change it, but how to meet it, how to work with it, and how to meet your own experience, the full spectrum of your human emotions. So when you experience pain, you don't run. When you experience anger, you don't run. So it's learning to really be with, sit with all of it the same way, not grasping at anything and not pushing anything away. So we do that. And then there's like a Q&A. And it's
Okay.
every Thursday for the next 8 weeks.
Okay. And people could go to your website, which I think we could put it in the chat so people have that. It's also underneath your name and your box here if people want to look. The other thing I want to briefly talk about, because I know we're coming up to time, is your practice. You do this session, this 8 weeks for free. And at the same time, you're doing this often and all the time and have been for decades with different organizations and different groups. So if people are saying, no, I've been through this or I need to bring it into my organization, they can also do that, right?
Yes, yes. Groups. It's actually remarkably difficult to come up with a group of individuals from all around the world who can come at the same time.
Mm.
Believe it or not, even though there's billions of people, because everybody's busy. And so if you want to prioritize this with your organization, or with some community group, that is actually a great way to do it, because you have this, like, you already have a group of people, and I'm happy to do whatever time works best for the group of people. So
Mhm.
if somebody has a community group or affinity group that they belong to and they think that the group can benefit from it, absolutely. And there's like a services page on the website, and you can contact me about the details on that anytime. And I also do, throughout the year, I do retreats. And if you've done mindfulness before and you want to come to a day-long retreat, you're always invited, as you
Okay.
know, future.
Okay. Yes, I know. I know. The other
A
thing,
challenge putting that out there for you for the next time I have one.
right? Seriously. I would have to the dates would have to match up, you
Yeah.
know, because I want to be in person. I
Yep.
prefer. I mean, I did virtual with you, and I prefer in person if I could do it.
And it was the middle of a pandemic, so everybody did virtual.
Right? Everybody, nobody was going in person.
No.
If we look at your quote, can you tell everybody what your quote is? Because we always try to ask guests, what's the quote that has kind of kept you present throughout all that we're living through? And can you share with everybody what your quote is?
Sure. So anybody who does yoga and even doesn't do yoga knows corpse pose is like, you lay there, your palms are up and not really doing anything. And so John Kabat-Zinn, a couple of years ago, he had this meeting with a bunch of teachers, and he said the corpse pose is the most difficult pose to do, because you're dying to the past and you're dying to the future, and you're really just surrendering to the now, because that's all you have.
Yeah.
And and until he said corpse pose is the most difficult pose, I actually didn't think it was. And now that he said that, I'm like, it's so hard. To be but it is. It's like it's this moment where you have no choice but to acknowledge that this is it. This moment right now is literally the only moment you can feel.
Yeah.
You can't feel any other moment in your whole life.
No.
And that can make one feel a little antsy and anxious. But working with that and being with that is necessary.
Mhm. Yes. Final words that you want to share with anybody listening or watching the replay.
Mindfulness is not about calming and relaxing and stopping your mind and stopping your thoughts. It is about acceptance of the full range of your human experience, getting to know your body and your mind, and befriending everything you are.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I love that. And I think of the first part of befriending, allowing
Mm.
ourselves to be,
Yep.
just be.
Yeah.
Okay, it's so easy for us to say, right? A two-letter word is brings so much struggle to many. So I
Mm.
want to thank you. I am sending you so much love. People can go to your website. There's free, because some people
Free.
like free, free 8 weeks drop in. You don't have to put your cameras on. Mary's not going to be like, put your camera on, whatever you feel comfortable doing, then that's what you do. And also at the same time, I would subscribe to her site because she will send out teachings that are going to be very impactful for you very often. So that would be my ad to everybody and anybody. And I'm sure if they have other questions, you would be open to them connecting. Okay.
Absolutely. And thank you so much.
All right. Thank you for coming. Dion, sending love. Speaker
So,
Thank
page.
you,
Mary, Dr.
Dan.
Martin, definitely hang on. We're just going to be about a minute with this, and then we'll do sort of a wrap up after we go off the air. Hi, everyone. Oh, I completely forgot I had changed the background here. Yeah, you're right, Future. I'm kind of forgetting stuff that I'm doing, um, because it's throughout the week. Hey, everyone, welcome to our weekly Pitchfork Speaker Spotlight. This is where we talk about which events and where you could find us going forward. Future, of course, always start with you first.
Okay. Thank you. I am so excited. I'm leaving soon to go to Arizona, and I will be meeting up with anybody in Arizona who wants to chit chat with me at the Mom 2.0 Summit, May 7th through the 9th. And then at the end of the month, that one's paid. I want to be honest and transparent with everybody. That's a paid conference. So everybody might not be able to go to this, and some people just aren't moms. However, Thursday, May 25th is totally free. I would tell everybody and anybody to sign up for this. Registration is actually open at the network, wi.com. It is the Equity Connect, and that is something in Wisconsin. I will be one of the many beautiful presenters on May 25th. You could sign up for free, and it's for anybody, and it's virtual. Dan, over to you.
So, tomorrow at 8 a.m. Pacific time, I'm going to be speaking live on LinkedIn with Sarah Burgess, career stories. If all you're going to have to do is, I think it's go to my page. I forget if she sent me the Restream link. And then on Friday, I am speaking at the AMLD Women's Leadership Conference alongside some notables like Pamela Roberts, who's the president of the Association for Federally Employed Women. After that, I'm pretty free for a while. As always, Future and I are both paid speakers. We're keynote speakers. If you're looking for somebody to come in and speak to your organization or your group, please feel free to reach out. As always, and as I just mentioned, we are paid speakers, so please keep that in mind. Our time is valuable. So, with that, thank you, everybody. I want to say that we're still working on next week's episode. There's been some back and forth that we have to work out. But in 2 weeks, we'll definitely be here. So we'll update you in the next day or two about next week, but we'll be for sure in 2 weeks. If you're enjoying this modified format that we've used for season 2, please let us know. If you think that, if you have any questions or comments, if you have any feedback for us, please feel free to reach out to us. We're happy to take it. This is a show for you, and we really want to incorporate your words, your ideas within what we're doing. Any last words before we go to outro?
The only words I would say is center your own wellness, peace, rest, and joy. And we will see you when we see you.
All right, let's do it.